Good morning, guys. Right, I'm sorry I can't be there with you today. Although you're gonna miss me, I know because I'm your favorite teacher. You're not gonna miss my classes, okay? Because I'm gonna be taping myself, teaching you, and so we can continue advancing with the unit 1 of the book, okay? So today we're gonna go to the pages 16 and 17 of your books, okay? Point number 6 of the unit 1, called the seasons. Alright, well, first things first, the other day I already explained to you a bit, okay, why we have seasons. Okay, we've got during the year we suffer 4 different seasons, okay, the summer, the autumn, winter and spring. Okay, and I told you as well, I explained to you the other day, that whilst we have one season in the north hemisphere, in the south hemisphere we've got the opposite one. Okay, so we are in the autumn right now, so in the south hemisphere it's spring. Okay, the next season we will be in the winter and they will be in summer. Okay, and like that. Right, why does this happen? Why do we have seasons? Well, this is something I already explained to you the other day using the ball and the torch of my mobile. Okay, explaining you that it's due to the angle in which we receive the sunlight. Okay, so what happens? It's everything. Everything is caused because of the axis of rotation of the Earth. Okay, the axis of rotation of the Earth is tilted 23.5 degrees. Okay, so this provokes that during the year, at some moments we are receiving direct sunlight, and at others we are receiving sunlight in an angle. Okay. Now, whenever we receive straight sunlight, okay, is when we are going to suffer more heat. Okay, because we are going to receive more amount of sunlight per square meter. Okay. So during the summer, this is what happens in the north hemisphere. Whilst we are in the north hemisphere, the south hemisphere suffers the opposite. They receive the sunlight in a very big angle, small angle, so they receive less sunlight per square meter. Okay, the opposite happens in December. Okay, we are going to receive less sunlight, so it's going to be colder. All right. Another of the consequences of this is that days are shorter in the winter and longer in the summer. And that's due to that we receive more time sunlight. Okay, that's another consequence as well of, or that produces as well an increase in the temperature. All right, if we during the day we receive more time of sunlight, that's going to as well increase the temperature of that place. Okay, something very extreme happens in the North and the South Pole. Okay, during a few months in the North Pole, they're gonna have a constant day. All right, they've got sunlight during 24 hours a day. Whilst that happens in the North Pole, in the South Pole, it's gonna happen the opposite. They're gonna have a 24 hours night. Okay, and that can happen during several months. Right. To understand as well when we change from one season to another, it's not randomly. Okay, it's due to the length of those days. Okay, so we're gonna have 4 days during the year that have special names. Okay, we're gonna have 2 equinoxes. Okay, it's written like this: equinoxes, and 2 solstices. Okay, the equinoxes are 2 days during the year that are the only days where days and night are equal in length. Okay, we've got 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. Okay, as I say, this happens twice a year, and it happens when the Earth is completely straight with the sun, so we receive direct sunlight. Okay, now this happens when we go from the summer to the autumn. That means it happened last 22nd of September. Alright, that means I think it was last Monday. And when we go from winter to spring, okay, and that usually happens around the 21st of April, okay. Then we've got the solstice, okay. Usually the equinoxes, you don't have a lot of trouble to understand what they are. You usually find more trouble understanding the solstice, okay. The solstice is when days are, when the difference in length between day and night is the greatest, okay. What does that mean? It means that it's gonna be the longest day and the shortest night, or the opposite, the shortest day and the longest night, okay. And that's when the angle of the earth in respect to the sunlight is bigger, okay. This is gonna happen in June and in December. Alright, in June it's gonna happen when we go from the spring to the summer in the North Hemisphere, and in December when we go from autumn to winter in the North Hemisphere. Alright, what days usually this happens? Well, we're going to that now, okay. So, whilst the earth is going around the sun, okay, when the earth is closest to the sun, it's when we have the equinox, okay. As I said before, in September it happens between the 22nd and the 23rd, okay. It depends on the year, if it's a gap year, if it's the first year after a gap year or not, okay. In this day, what happens is that in the North Hemisphere the autumn begins, okay, and in the South Hemisphere the spring. The other equinox, okay, sorry, I said April before, I meant March, okay, happens between the 20th and the 21st of March, alright. The same happens as in September, okay. The day and the night lasts the same, okay, 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. And in this case, in the North Hemisphere we go into the spring, and in the South Hemisphere they go into the autumn. Now, when the earth is further away from the sun, okay, in these two situations is when we have the solstice, alright. Let's start with the December solstice. It happens the 21st or the 22nd, okay. It's usually the day that we get the Christmas holidays, and the day that we suffer the winter solstice, what we have in the North Hemisphere is the shortest day of the year, okay, the day that has less hours of sunlight, okay, and that day is when the winter begins, okay. On the other hand, in the South Hemisphere they have the longest day of the year, okay, and they go into the summer season, okay. In June, okay, between the 20th and the 22nd, alright, never forget this day, it's very important because it's my birthday, the 22nd of June. In the North Hemisphere we go into the summer, alright. It's the day that we have more hours of light, okay, that's why my birthday is great, okay. We've got the longest day of the year in the North Hemisphere. In the South Hemisphere, the opposite, the shortest day, okay, or the longest night, whatever you want to say. And we begin, and they start in the winter, okay. Right, this as well has another consequence, okay, and it's the movement of the sun. It's not really the movement of the sun because, you know, it's the earth that's moving around the sun, but the appearance we suffer from the earth is that it's the sun that's moving, okay. What happens is that the direction, well, what the sun does, okay, is this circle, or the apparent movement of the sun is this circle around the earth, okay. So when we are in the summer, okay, in the summer solstice, it spends more time in the North Hemisphere than in the South Hemisphere, okay. In the winter, what happens in the winter? The opposite. It spends more time in the South Hemisphere than in the North Hemisphere, okay. That's why here for us is the shortest day, and here for us is the longest day. On the equinox, it spends half the time in the north and half the time in the South Hemisphere, alright. How do we see it? Okay, if we were standing here, the sunrise, you know that the sun always rises in the east, okay, and the sunset is always on the west. But the sun doesn't have to actually go directly to the top of the sky, okay. That only happens in the summer, alright. The sun in the summer comes out, goes up, 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 and it goes nearly in a direct angle, okay, nearly on top of us. Actually, at one point it will be on top of us, okay, but it always goes very, very high up, and then it goes back down, okay. In the winter, what happens in the winter? Well, it comes up, but doesn't really separate a lot of the horizon, and then the sunset, it's usually even closer, okay, to the floor. Alright, so it spends less time in the sky, so obviously we've got less time of sunlight, alright, of daylight. Okay, in the spring and the autumn it's obviously something intermediate, alright. Okay guys, so this is today's class, alright. If you've got any doubts, first of all, check the book, because everything I've explained, you can find it in the pages 16 and 17, alright. And if you still got any doubts, you've got Google Classroom to ask me any questions. I will upload the link to this video on the Google Classroom, okay, if you want to check the explanation this afternoon. For any doubts, you can as well do that, alright. Now the teacher will give you some activities that you have to do for the rest of the class, alright. When you finish those activities, then you will be able to study or do exercises or activities from another subject, but only when you finish the biology activities, alright. Hope you have a nice day, and I hope I can see you tomorrow, guys. Bye.